Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Maggie's family questions her impending espousal. Teresa stopped by Alex's office at Titan to drop off paperwork. He asked her if she'd mind taking some documents to Maggie as her final sanctioned act for Titan, explaining that he did not want to disaccord with Maggie again. Teresa wanted a clean break from the company, and Alex understood. He invited her to regale, but she declined because of her hot date with a laptop job stalking. Alex was sorry for how effects had worked out at Titan and offered to give Teresa a great recommendation. They flirted until Teresa departed, leaving Alex hot and irritated. Teresa coming encountered a flower carrying Constantine in the domain. "For me? You should not have," she snarked. Constantine said the flowers were for his fiancée. Teresa rolled her eyes and asked Constantine if a date had been set for the marriage. Constantine conceded the timepiece was ticking for his visa expiration and suggested Maggie and he have a double marriage with Teresa and Alex. Teresa scarfed, but Constantine allowed. It was a good idea to move their plan along. Teresa was satisfied with the conduct she would taken to make Alex ask her more and did not want to peril her progress by pushing too hard again. Constantine dragooned her to make a move. In Horton Town Square, John met Steve for coffee. Steve reported that he would set up nothing new on Constantine's ex-wife. John allowed. It's strange that the woman had putatively dissolved without a trace following her divorce from Constantine. He inferred Constantine might have killed his woman. And Steve bothered what the bastard might do to Maggie. Both John and Steve agreed that it was a good thing Constantine would be leaving the country. John admitted the situation with Constantine had been the main motorist of his recent anxiety. Steve agreed that the return of the pawn history hadn't been on my bingo card, and he believed they still demanded to keep their guard up because Constantine might make a move soon. John conceded the trouble but expressed his desire to put the history behind him, since Constantine had forgiven him. Steve still misdoubted that Constantine was sincere about forgiving John, and he also had dubieties about John's part in Katharina's death. Constantine intruded Steve Madrant and wanted to know why Steve was talking about remission. The men tried to dismiss Constantine, but Constantine reaffirmed to John that he'd forgiven John. Constantine stated that if he criticized anyone, it was Steve, because Steve had deliberately worked for Victor and kept the verity from both Constantine and John. After Constantine left with a sardonic "enjoy your day," Steve supplicated John to see that the creep had been trying to produce a rift between them. John didn't answer, but looked worried. At the Kiriaki's manse, Maggie informed Sarah and Xander that she had exhausted all options to keep Constantine in the country. Xander cracked, "Hallelujah," which earned him a poke from Sarah. Maggie heated as Sarah expressed her condolences for Maggie losing Constantine's company. Also Maggie told the stupefied couple that she was going to marry Constantine. Maggie snappily clarified that the marriage would be in name only and claimed she owed Constantine for Victor's once transgressions against the man. A shocked Sarah regrouped and asked Maggie if she was sure about the decision, since Victor had only failed a short time ahead. Maggie comforted her son that she was at peace with the decision and that there was no need to worry. Xander was less politic, calling Maggie's conduct insane and dangerous. He declared to Maggie, "You cannot do this, we will not let you." Xander reworded more gently, saying that with all the admiration and love in the world, you are making a huge mistake. Alex entered with the contracts for Maggie and, noticing the pressure in the room, offered to leave. Maggie asked him to stay and, in the interest of full exposure, told him about the marriage offer. "That is surely news," Alex responded after a beat. Maggie prodded him about his lack of response, and Alex, too, let her know about being substantially in the nay column regarding Constantine. Maggie testily claimed Alex did not get a vote and told him he could see himself out. Xander followed Alex outdoors, leaving Sarah to defend the men's responses to Maggie. Sarah claimed they were upset, and Sarah, too, was upset about Maggie guarding her heart. Maggie comforted Sarah and thanked her for the love and support. Sarah promised that if Constantine hurt Maggie, he'd not answer to Xander, but to her. The women participated a warm clinch. Constantine returned to the manse with flowers and delicacy as an expression of gratefulness for Maggie. She thanked him and said she wanted him to look over some papers. Constantine tried to hide his expression when he realized the documents were a prenuptial agreement, but Maggie noticed his putatively negative response. She asked Constantine if he was surprised, as he should have been awaiting it. Maggie explained that her attorneys had encouraged her to draw up the agreement, and once the papers were inked, Constantine and she could move forward with the marriage. Constantine pasted on a smile and said, "Let's not stay another moment, also ink the document." He watched menacingly as Maggie put the agreement inside a safe behind the glass. After a tense exchange outdoors, Xander and Alex agreed that they were upset about Maggie. Xander pledged to do whatever he'd to do to get Constantine out of Maggie's life. Sarah joined Xander for a walk after Alex left, and Xander reiterated his unbelief that Maggie could fall under the spell of someone like Constantine. Sarah reminded him that the espousal were a marriage of convenience, but she did believe that Maggie authentically enjoyed Constantine's company. She defended Constantine, saying Xander and she should know better than anyone that people could change. Xander claimed Constantine was a gold digger with ties to systematized crime. He'd no way accept Constantine into his family. At the DiMera manse, Kristen told a person on the phone that she'd be happy to chaperone Rachel's academy trip. After she hung up, she groused about having to constrain a bunch of abecedarian academy brats and decided to call someone. An irked Brady answered and asked what she wanted. Kristen put on a sweet voice and asked Brady if he wanted to chaperone Rachel's trip to the terrarium. Brady was skeptical about Kristen's true intentions, but after further blarneying, he agreed, as he'd wanted to spend time with his son. Kristen latterly ended a call about the DiMera education when Rachel entered. The girl was agitated about her trip and about seeing a notorious Goliath. She was less enthused after Kristen revealed that Brady would be accompanying her. Rachel was confused because she had allowed. Her mama did not want her alone with her pater. When Kristen explained that a lot of people would be around and that Brady wanted to see her, Rachel grew agitated again and asked Kristen to come on, too. Kristen reminded Rachel that Rachel didn't like it when her parents fought, and she did not want to ruin Rachel's trip by arguing with her son's pater. She assured Rachel that Brady and she were working on getting on and also brought up having grown-up musketeers. Kristen told Rachel that she had a swain named Alex Kyriakis, and Kristen was certain Rachel would like him. Rachel just wanted a cookie and went to get one, reminding her mama to fill out the authorization form for the trip before she left. Kristen continued her round of phone calls by ringing up Alex, whom she invited over. Alex agreed, since Teresa had backed out of spending time with him. Latterly, Kristen let Alex into her bedroom. He looked around and remarked that he had not been awaiting to hang out there. Kristen claimed she wanted sequestration so they could bandy their plan to make Brady and Teresa jealous. Alex allowed. The plan was not going well, so Kristen moved closer and said in a sultry tone they demanded to over the figure. Kristen suggested Alex spend the night so that Rachel could find them together the coming morning and tell Brady. A surprised Alex wondered if Kristen had traumatizing your sprat in mind, but Kristen clarified they would only be snuggling. She also believed Alex spending the night down would make Teresa jealous. Alex sounded intrigued but said that, since Rachel was a smart cookie, they demanded to make the ruse credible and really go for it. A smiling Kristen asked what he'd in mind, and he moved by and kissed her. Kristen unbolted Alex's shirt and threw him on the bed. She climbed on top of him as the two continued kissing passionately. At the Brady pub, Brady invited an arriving Teresa to sit with him. She lamented her misplaced job and dejectedly stated she felt like a total failure, professionally and tête-à-tête.